very rarely do I sit down and film a video without consciously thinking about what I'm going to say in the video. So just know that this is a rare moment, and this is one of those videos where I have put no thought into what I'm going to say. So I don't even know fully what I'm going to talk about, but I just know this is something that has been eating away at me internally for a long time. And it's something that I feel like I need to talk about and discuss openly, because if not, I'm just going to continue internalizing it, and it's going to continue to just be like this dark secret that is consuming me. I don't know where to start. For a long time now, I've had this overwhelming feeling from time to time that I am living a lie, that I do not deserve the accomplishments that I've achieved. I don't deserve the success that I'm working towards. And also a feeling that kind of like you're going to be discovered, like you're living this secret life and people are going to find out about it, right? And this is actually a common way that people feel. The term that describes it is often imposter syndrome. And being on YouTube or living a life in public, living my life more in a public eye, has exacerbated this a certain amount. And I want to talk about it. I want to talk about some of these things, and some of these things might be uncomfortable. I think I'm going to divulge a lot of information that you guys don't really know about, things that are going on in my life that I don't really talk about. But I feel like it's time to just be honest and let this off my chest. I think talking about it will actually maybe act as this release where once I put it out publicly, I mean, I have mentioned it in past videos, but once I actually talk about it in depth, maybe I won't feel this way anymore, or maybe I can stop dwelling on it. And I do tend to dwell on it when I'm at low points in my life, like when I'm experiencing depression. Depression is something that I've obviously also talked about openly, but I don't really think everyone understands how much that affects me as well. So maybe I should start talking about that. This is not a video about depression, but I'm just going to throw it out there. For the longest time, I have very much related to being bipolar, and I've never been diagnosed by a physician, so I know people will completely like tear me apart for this, but to me, it doesn't really matter whether or not I have a diagnosis, because I'm not using the clinical diagnosis to like seek treatment. And the reason I am even using the term bipolar to describe it is just so you guys can get an idea of kind of the highs and the lows that I experience. So like when I feel depressed, which happens regularly, I feel like I hit a really, really low point, and that's often immediately after I have hit a high point. And that is kind of how bipolar disorder functions. It's like you hit a high and then you hit a low and then you hit a high and then you hit a low. The technical term for those high points is mania, but of course, as with any type of psychological disorder or mental issue, mental disease, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, there's a very large spectrum, you know, so everybody experiences everything differently, and some people may experience depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, whatever it is, on a much more severe scale or on a much more severe level than somebody else. And even within that spectrum, we're all going to experience everything a bit differently. Nothing is going to be quite the same. Our brains are all wired differently. And yeah, we just process information differently, and our brains respond to situations differently. The reason that I'm harping on this is because, you know, there is so much competition with mental health, and there is this weird attitude where people think they're going through something in a worse way, or they feel the need to like invalidate other people's experiences. The reason that any of this is relevant is because when I'm going through a low phase, that's usually when I really start to feel this sense of being an imposter. And you know, it's easy to see people on social media living their best lives. I very much try to include moments of my life where I'm struggling, or moments where I'm just being honest about how I'm feeling, but it's hard to include every single element of your day or every element of your life. So in general, I think on social media, even when we talk about mental health and things that we're struggling with, the overall picture makes it seem like social media influencers or celebrities or whatnot are just like living their best life. And I can tell you off the bat that I struggle. But I do try to stay positive, and I do think that over the years of dealing with depression, anxiety, and whatnot, I found a lot of helpful tools to deal with those things. And I would say that at this point in my life, I feel well equipped to deal with those emotions and those feelings, and I think that I am living the best way I can while having moments where I really struggle. I also want to say, going back to identifying with feeling bipolar or having bipolar episodes, a lot of people have actually pointed this out in videos where they will say that it looks like I'm being manic or something, and I don't usually film when I'm feeling manic. The personality of me like dancing around all the time and dancing around my place and like being extra productive and trying to be positive, that is generally my personality. When I feel manic, I really feel like, for no real reason sometimes, I will wake up or suddenly throughout the day, I'll just be like feeling so elated that it feels unnatural. And a lot of people who experience severe manic episodes will engage in like risky behavior and things like that. And I've never really gone to that extreme, but I can see how that happens. And for me, I almost like tend to enjoy those periods of mania or those periods of elation, because I know that sometime after that, there's probably going to be a depression, and I'm probably going to hit a low. So I try to like ride out those high points, and then when I hit a depression, I just try to deal with it the best way that I know how. Sometimes the lows are so low, I feel like I physically and mentally cannot live through that moment. And that might sound suicidal, but you guys know that I also have this overwhelming fear of death, which is a completely different subject, right? But it's like this horrible feeling where I just feel like I feel so bad. I cannot physically live through the present moment. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that feeling. It sucks. It fucking sucks. And because the content that I'm creating is not posted immediately, you know, it takes time to film a video, edit a video, and go through all the footage and then get it up on YouTube. Sometimes I'll be like editing a really positive video when I'm feeling really low. And that is part of what makes me feel like an imposter, because I'm editing something that portrays a part of me that is indeed very genuine, but it's something that I just can't relate to in the moment, so it feels disingenuous. And I recognize that it's not, and that we all experience a spectrum of emotions, and you know, our feelings change from day to day, but when I'm editing videos like that, it really just, sometimes I have a hard time with it. A great example of this is a video I filmed like a couple weeks ago, like a month ago maybe, about relationships. I really felt like everything I was saying was very true to how I felt, and I felt like the video portrayed my relationship with my boyfriend in a very positive light and in a very healthy way. And I'm not saying those things aren't true, but I think like the day after that happened, or 2 days after that happened, Nick and I got in one of the worst fights that we've ever had in our relationship. And I'm not trying to put him on blast here, but it was like so serious that we were talking about breaking up, and it was a horrible moment, okay? Bottom line, we worked through it and we're doing okay, but I was like editing this video talking about different things in my relationship and how I work through problems. When I filmed it, I was so collected and together and articulate, And then when I was editing it, it just felt like so phony because Nick and I were going through this really difficult time. And like, this is an inevitable part of being a creator and being on social media and filming intimate parts of your life, and I think it's inevitable that your feelings are going to change, and we might not even always identify with the content that we're creating on a daily basis, you know, because we are going through different things at different times. But that was really, really hard for me. And when I posted the video, I just felt like so many people got the impression that Nick and I had this perfect, amazing relationship. And I tried to explain in the video that that was very far from true, but I feel like just because I was very collected in the video, it came across that we had this like amazing, perfect relationship, which is never true for anyone. But yeah, I really, really struggled with that, and it was hard. Another thing that I'm hesitant to talk about is my relationship with an older sibling, my only older sibling. A lot of you guys think that I'm an only child because I haven't really disclosed whether or not I have siblings, but I do have one, and we don't have a very healthy relationship. We have hardly spoken in years, and when we do speak, it's often very volatile and upsetting. We have never had a close relationship, which has always been unfortunate because I remember really wanting to feel close to that person when I was growing up, and I think maybe the only time we were ever close was when we were super young. As soon as we were like older kids and adolescents and stuff, we just really butted heads, and ever since I started my YouTube channel 10 years ago, that person has not been supportive of my platform at all. On the other hand, my parents are incredibly supportive and incredibly encouraging, but my sibling has really not had anything positive to say about it. And I almost feel like our relationship has been this weird competitive thing. Like, I've never felt competitive towards them, but it feels like there's been some kind of competition almost, or some kind of just major tension, and it sucks. It really is upsetting, and it sucks too because this is my only sibling, and I would love to have the support from my entire family. Anytime my YouTube channel comes up in conversation when I'm with my family, that person will be very discouraging and insinuate that everything I'm posting is not true or like disingenuous and whatnot. And even though I know deep down that that's not the case, and I do feel like I am genuine, and I really try so hard to portray myself in an accurate light, I mean, it's upsetting when it's like your own family, you know? It's hard. Over the years, our relationship has continued to progress in a very unhealthy way. And I feel like my parents almost don't acknowledge it because, you know, it's upsetting to them as well. But it got to the point where the last time I went to see my parents, which was recently, I basically told them I wasn't going to come unless they just acknowledged that the way we interacted was wrong, and the way that I was being treated in some situations was wrong. It was like making me feel like I was going crazy, that nobody was like, this is fucking not right. Like, this is not a way for you to treat your sibling. And I'm not saying that I'm completely blameless, you know, in our fucked up relationship, but the dynamic has like never been healthy, and I really think a large part of it is this weird sense of like competition. And I know my mom's gonna be really upset that I'm talking about this, so I don't wanna continue to like go into detail about it, but I will say that my sibling has also like at times left really provocative negative comments on my platforms on the internet, and people have like ganged up on them in not knowing that I'm related to this person. And that has also been really hard to watch because deep down I really care about my family and everyone in my family, and it's hard to see someone being mean to someone in your family even if they aren't treating you the way you want to be treated. I'm gonna let that go, but I guess where I'm going with this is just that having an unsupportive family member is hard, and it can bring about that feeling of being an imposter when people who you should be close with are not giving you that support. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I think a lot of creators struggle with, or a lot of people who have jobs on social media or YouTube and whatnot, and that is the pressure you get from your audience when it starts to grow. When you are building a platform on the internet, when you share certain ideas, certain values, and just your own life experiences, people will start to hold you to certain standards that are humanly unattainable. There's really no other term for it. I really don't promote any one certain way of living because I know that there is not one correct way or one right way to live, and everyone is on their own path. I try to be really understanding with people, even those who have different views than mine, or different lifestyles and everything like that. But obviously on my Instagram and on my YouTube, I talk a lot about like healthy living, exercising, being environmentally friendly, and I also do a lot of stuff with like vegetarian meals, vegan meals, and whatnot. Even though I am not vegan and I do not adhere to a strict vegan diet, anytime I post anything in a specific category, whether it's veganism, whether it's lower in my waist or zero waste, whatever it is, people like latch on to those things that you talk about, and they just have these insane expectations, which it's just not realistic. With that said, I do post a lot of vegan and vegetarian meals because those are things I've eaten for almost my whole life. And then I also post other things about consuming fish and meat and whatever it is, or ways you can consume those things more ethically. And I've also discussed the fact that I have not eaten meat or land animals since I was 6 years old, so it's been a really long time. But I don't think that people who eat meat are inherently bad people. I don't think that eating meat is necessarily a wrong lifestyle. I think there's a lot of different ways to live. You know, I also really try diligently to live a low waste lifestyle, but I'm not perfect and I am not zero waste. And anytime I like eat a bag of chips or buy a packaged food, I get criticism for it because it doesn't adhere to the lifestyle that the internet thinks I'm living, even though I have tried to make it abundantly clear that I don't stick to just one lifestyle, and you know, there's always margin for error. Sorry, I don't know what just happened with the light. I feel like I'm really just going off on a tangent, but the point I'm trying to make is like, we're all living the best way that we know how to live in the moment, and my ideas of how to live the best that I can are always changing because I'm always evolving as a person. I'm always learning, having new experiences, and my opinions are changing based on the new knowledge that I'm gaining. If there's one thing that you take away from my channel, or if there's one lifestyle that I truly promote, it's that there is no one right way to live, and we need to stop holding people to such high expectations. It's just not healthy, and that pressure can really be damaging. And like for me, I mean, it's like, even though I talk about the fact that I'm not vegan, even though I am not zero waste, it's like this fear that I'll be at the grocery store or something and I will run into like a subscriber and I'll be buying like a bag of cereal in a plastic bag, you know, whatever it is. And I immediately have to like defend what I'm doing because I feel like someone's gonna call me out and be like, oh, you're vegan, why are you buying this? You're zero waste, why are you buying this? Even though I've made it clear that I'm not. That really plays into the whole imposter syndrome feeling and feeling like you're a fraud, because you just always feel like you have to be defending your actions and defending the way that you're living, and that's really hard. I am not a traditional social media person. I'm not like somebody who loves to be the center of attention. I mean, I'm very grateful for this platform and feel incredibly privileged to share these parts of my life and just to make videos and be creating content for a living, but I never thought I would be doing this. I still have a hard time seeing myself on camera sometimes. I have a hard time posting pictures of myself sometimes. That might not be evident, but it is hard sometimes. Like, it's hard to see yourself constantly on a public platform. People love to say that anyone can be on social media. Anyone can be doing this. It's so easy. The reality is, not everyone is cut out for this. Like, I promise you, this job is not for everyone, and it is a very, very difficult job that involves typically a tremendous amount of work off camera that goes unseen. And a lot of you guys know this and acknowledge it, and I know most of you are really appreciative of the work we as creators put into YouTube, but it's like a major full-time job, and you have to deal with not only the work you're producing, but a tremendous amount of criticism every single day. Like, you have to wake up and know that you're going to read tons of comments that are really negative about yourself every single day. I feel like I'm actually really capable of dealing with that most of the time, and when I do feel like I'm in a low moment and like I can't like stand to read them in one day, I just turn my phone off and I distance myself from the internet. I distance myself from Instagram, YouTube, whatever I need to do just to take like a proper break and get back to the present moment and get back to the real world. That is truly the beauty of this job. You can kind of turn it off whenever you want, but then you always know that you're going to come back and there's going to be that negativity that you're going to have to like filter through. That definitely contributes to this fraudulent feeling, and just that pressure. And the other side of that is I have a hard time sometimes even dealing with the massive amount of positivity that I get, and let me just say that I'm so appreciative of it, and like it truly keeps me going. So on the one hand, I'm like so grateful. I love reading your comments. Don't stop interacting with me, because engaging with you is one of my favorite parts of this job. But sometimes I'll read so many positive things that I really feel like I'm not like deserving, right? It's hard to acknowledge that so many people are watching my videos. To me, I'm just still making videos as a hobby kind of, and it has evolved into so much more than that, and it's hard for me to acknowledge that I'm living this life. And I think it would be hard for a lot of people. So it's like this weird duality where I love reading that kind of stuff because it keeps me going, it keeps me uplifted, and it really makes me feel like you guys are on my side. But then it's just, it can be somehow difficult to read just so much praise about yourself. That also makes me feel like a fraud. At the end of the day, I don't always feel like that. I just have like moments where I feel like that, and it's again usually at those really low points when I'm having a hard time. The final thing I want to say, which is going to be positive, is that I went to London last week. I got back 2 days ago. I'm still very jet lagged. I've been waking up at 6 a.m., which is actually great. It makes me feel like I could maybe be a morning person. But the point is that I was in London, and when I was in London, I did a meetup with some of my subscribers, which I really want to get in the habit of doing when I travel. Meeting up with you guys is so rewarding for me, and at the same time, it pushes me way outside of my comfort zone because it does make me nervous, and I do have that sense of like, why do so many people want to meet me? And then I don't want to like disappoint people when they actually meet me and realize that I'm a complete weirdo and a huge nerd, which whatever, I'm proud of that. I digress. But I have done these meetups twice now. I did one in Paris when I was there back in February and March, and then I did one in London. Both of them went much better than I could have ever imagined, much better than I anticipated. When I did this meetup in London, I had this crazy like moment of clarity where I really felt like, okay, this is why I am doing what I'm doing. This makes it all worth it. It sounds so cheesy, but it just felt like so nice to connect with strangers on a more personal level. And when I posted a picture on Instagram and on YouTube, a lot of people were commenting on the fact that everyone I met was beautiful, and like, you know, people were saying that I like hand selected my subscribers to be beautiful, which absolutely did not happen. I am not discrediting that everyone who came was beautiful, because they very much were, but I really feel like everyone looks so beautiful in the photo because we were all having like just a genuine moment of human connection where we felt comfortable and happy, and just happy to support each other. And I think that's very evident in the way everyone looks in the picture. And that makes all of this worth it. It makes the weird fucking world of social media worth it to me. And I really want to have more moments like that. My camera has just politely informed me that my memory card is full, and that means I've been talking too long again. Sorry if this video was like information overload. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being involved in this weird digital world that we're all living in. And thank you for just being engaged on my platform. Yeah, I don't know why the lighting keeps doing this. Hopefully, some of the things I talked about in this video made sense. I guess I'll figure that out when I go through the footage later. But I will see you guys very soon, and I will talk to you then.